Greetings to everyone out there in the No DQ galaxy. Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite as well as WWE NXT. As always, as I've been doing for the past 11 weeks now, I did have both shows on at the same time. My focus, though, was on AEW as it's been, so I will do the letter grade at the end for AEW, but I'll also give my thoughts on what happened during NXT. I will be going over the results of both shows, and if you enjoy this video, please do me a favor and tell a friend, spread the word, share a link to this video on social media, whatever you can do to let people know about this live stream. I would very much appreciate it. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. We kicked off AEW Dynamite from Garland, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. Jon Moxley came out for his big entrance, and he quickly defeated Alex Reynolds. Literally, the match was like 10 seconds long, and it was a new record for AEW, the shortest match in AEW history up to this point. And then John Silver got into the ring after the match. He got taken out by Moxley, and this led to Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle coming out. While this was happening over on NXT, we kicked off the show with the Cruiserweight Championship match. Lio Rush, the man of the hour, versus Angel Garza. Back over on AEW, Chris Jericho cut this promo. He talked about how he's just out there to have a conversation with Moxley like two gentlemen would. Basically, Chris Jericho tried to recruit Moxley into the Inner Circle. He brought up how they have a long history. They used to, and I quote, beat the living shit out of each other. And then Jericho brought up how he taught Moxley how to become a main event superstar. And Jericho also mentioned that he navigated Moxley to AEW. But then, of course, Moxley attacked Jericho at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, which showed to Jericho that Moxley is still an asshole, but still a winner. And then Jericho added that Moxley needs Jericho, and then Jericho said, imagine if the two of them joined forces. Jericho offered Moxley an Inner Circle t-shirt, but said, take your time. Talk to your wife about it. Talk to your family. Jericho said he'll be waiting for his answer and told him to choose wisely. Crowd, of course, did the no, and Jericho was like, don't listen to them. Over on NXT, we had a crazy-ass match. It was hard for me to go back and forth with these two. Jericho cut a great promo, but Garza and Lio Rush were tearing it up. They were having a wrestling clinic, kicking out of everything, doing all these big high spots, the crowd chanting NXT. There was this Spanish fly from the top rope, big near fall. They traded kicks, and then they both fell down simultaneously. Crowd gave them a standing ovation. Match was absolutely insane, as you would expect from the Cruiserweights. Garza kicked out of the springboard stunner, and then Lio Rush hit the frog splash, but Garza managed to roll outside of the ring. Lio decided to do a frog splash from the top rope to the outside, but Garza got his knees up. Garza got him back in the ring. He hit the wing clipper, which Lio actually kicked out of. What's it gonna take? And what it took was a submission hold immediately after the kick out, and Lio Rush lost the championship via a submission. Your new Cruiserweight champion, Angel Garza. Big celebration for him. They showed a replay of all the high spots. He put the title around his waist, and there's more, which I'll get to here in a second. Psycho Jet Black, with the first super chat of the evening, $5, says, when are you going to shave your beard off? Also, is Marco Stunt more over than EC3? Well, pretty much anybody is more over than EC3 at this point. I dare to find a name who is not as over as EC3. Give me one in the chat room, guys. And Hopefully I'll be shaving the beard off soon. I'm just very lazy right now. It is December, and I feel like I got to keep warm, so I gotta have a little bit of facial hair for now. Harold Warren with a $10 super chat says, overall, AEW tonight was an excellent show in my honest opinion. I agree, and I will give my letter grade, but spoiler alert, I thought AEW was awesome. I thought NXT was great. Another fantastic night of wrestling action from both companies, and Wednesday night, it is the place to be, and I want to see the numbers go up for both shows because it's just a fun night for watching both shows and just talking about wrestling. I feel a lot more energized than I did on Monday for Raw, and it just goes to show NXT, AEW competition, good for the business. Now, what happened during the commercial break, which NXT did show, Angel Garza cut this promo about his victory, mentioning the fans, thanking them for their support, and his family. But there's one other person he wanted to thank. He brought his girlfriend into the ring, and he popped the question right there in the ring to his girlfriend. So congratulations to Angel Garza, new Cruiserweight champion, and now he's engaged. What a moment. Really fun way to get things going over on NXT. On AEW, we had a video package to set up the main event, Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz in a Texas street fight. One cool thing about this video package, most of the clips were from PWG, and Excalibur was doing a little interview about all the crazy things they've done. So there you go, PWG getting some love on this AEW Dynamite episode. We had a tag team match. We had the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny in their corner versus Cody. And I already forgot his name, unfortunately. QT Marshall, there we go, who was handpicked by MJF. So MJF purposely picked a guy that's off the radar, who's a local wrestler, as Cody's partner, of course, to screw with him. And MJF cut this little promo they showed before the match, talking about how much of an idiot Cody is for allowing MJF to pick his partner. I want to say I really like the gear that Butcher and Blade had on. They're starting to grow on me. Like, I knew nothing about these guys, but I really like their ring gear, and I just wanted to point that out. They seem to be starting to build up some momentum here in AEW. And QT looked pretty good. He got some offense in this match. I gotta say, the AEW fans, they were red hot for this show. They brought it in Dallas, and the AEW fans, for pretty much every show up to this point, they've been red hot, and it really adds to the shows. So hats off to the AEW fans that have been attending the shows. You guys have been bringing the energy, and you're helping the brand build, because it's what the casual fans see on TV that's going to determine if they keep watching or not. And if they tune in and they see a hot crowd that's loving what they're seeing, that's going to help out. That's definitely going to be beneficial to AEW in the long run. So there you go. The crowd really brought it on this night. So we'll see how Corpus Christi does. That's going to be the test next week, because Corpus Christi, not exactly the best town when it comes to having loud reactions to what's going on during the shows. But if those fans bring it next week, then maybe it's not a Corpus Christi problem. Maybe it's a WWE problem when those fans don't react to anything. Anyways, Cody got a hot tag, and I mean, it was a hot tag. Cody was way over on this show. And QT even hit a crossroads, and he did this move off the top. Blade kicked out of that. Blade was kicking out of a lot in this match, and then Blade came back, and they did this stunner followed by a lariat, and then they did this double team move. I'm not sure what it was. It kind of reminded me of the Magic Killer a little bit, but it was something different. They hit this double team move for the victory, and then after the match, we had Darby Allin come out, and he looked at Cody, who was lying there on the outside, and then he helped up Cody to show that, yes, Cody does have a friend in AEW, believe it or not. I thought the Young Bucks were Cody's friend, but I don't know. That was the message that they were trying to get across here, that Darby Allin was, in fact, a Cody fan. And then we had MJF come out for a promo. He invited one of the camera grips into the ring, and he brought up how this guy was laughing when Cody made fun of MJF's Crossroads on last week's show. And MJF said, it's okay, all is forgiven as long as this grip kisses MJF's ring that he won from the Battle Royal and match a couple weeks ago. The grip did kiss the ring, but then MJF took him out, of course, like a heel would do, with the Crossroads. And then he cut this promo on Cody. He took a line from Roddy Piper. He said, do not throw rocks at a man with a machine gun. MJF said that it was nice that Cody offered him money, but he's already got enough money for a lifetime. What he wants is for Cody Rhodes to suffer. He said Cody Rhodes is fake. He has that platinum blonde hair that looks like a cat pissed on it. And he also has, and I quote, a shitty little lisp. MJF said that Cody's not going to fire him because Cody wants the match. And then MJF asked the fans, do you want to see the match? Of course, the fans said yes. And MJF was like, you're on. However, MJF has some stipulations. However, he's not going to tell them in a dump like Texas. He's going to wait till AEW goes to Jacksonville on January 1st for Dynamite. MJF said he's in control, not Cody, and he finished his promo saying, I'm better than you, and you know it. Great promo from MJF. This is what I want to see. I want to see MJF on the mic and get that heel heat. Great stuff here from him. And over on NXT, we had Raul Mendoza versus Cameron Grimes. The cosplayer Kushida, who was dressed up like Marty McFly, came out for the distraction. Mendoza got the upset victory, and I'm not sure if this was his first big win on NXT in a while. I haven't been watching the shows before NXT went live every week, but this was a big deal, big upset victory for Mendoza. And then to put the salt in the wound, we had Kushida steal Cameron Grimes' hat. And Harley says, I wasn't doing MJF's promo justice. I know. I mean, I can only recap it so much. You got to go check it out if you didn't see it. Great promo from MJF. That's all I can say. And then we had another Dark Order video package with Alex from the Beaver Boys. I'm not even sure who he is, but he was watching this infomercial in his hotel, and the infomercial turned into a Dark Order recruiting campaign. I will say this, as much as I liked the Jericho trying to recruit Moxley into the Inner Circle storyline, the problem with it is that we have all these other recruiting storylines going on. Dark Order's trying to recruit people. Brandi Rhodes is trying to recruit people. And now we got Jericho trying to recruit people. So it's becoming a little bit overkill, but I still thought it was a great promo at the beginning with Jericho and Moxley. Tony H with a $2 super chat says, MJF and Cody is the best story going in AEW currently. Well, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the storyline with Jericho and Moxley. And it looks like those will probably be the top two matches for the next AEW pay-per-view, which I guess I'll just get it out of the way now. It was announced on this show. AEW Revolution, February 29th, a leap year. Saturday, February 29th. Going to be in Chicago again, but there's this big expo going on, and I guess that's why they're doing another Chicago show because of that. I hope they don't burn out the Chicago fans, and I feel bad for much of the rest of the country. And California still hasn't got an AEW show, and Texas is already going to have 3 by the time LA gets 1. And I'm in Michigan. Detroit still hasn't gotten a show either. Did I say Evolution? I meant Revolution if I accidentally said Evolution. I will probably not be going to Chicago just because I don't think it's a great idea to travel in winter in the Midwest. So if it was in the summer, I'd be more open to it. And the only reason I didn't do All Out was because I already had plans for Toronto and SummerSlam weekend, and that was enough wrestling for me. But if they do something relatively close to Detroit in the spring or summer, I would consider making the trip for it. I'm hoping they'll do Detroit soon, though. And then we had, let's see, where are we at now? I got lost here for a second. Okay, so next up, we had two women's matches. We had Emi Sakura, or not even try to pronounce her name, Sakura, whatever, against Big Swole, who was now officially signed to AEW. They made the announcement that she had signed a contract, and she's been on AEW Dark a bunch of times. She was doing cartwheels in the match. She was doing a little bit of Bianca Belair with her hair, and she got angry because Sakura was grabbing her hair and pulling it. And then Sakura brought in the mic stand into the ring. Referee took it away, and then Swole grabbed the mic stand and started dancing around with it. And then Swole ended up picking up the victory with her Dirty Dancing finisher. And meanwhile, on NXT, we had Mia Yim versus Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai came out with the knee brace, and Kai ended up trying to use the brace. Referee grabbed it from her, and then she undid the turnbuckle, slammed Mia Yim into the turnbuckle, and then rolled her up for the victory. Mia Yim attacked her after the match. The fight continued. They went into the stands, and then Mia set up two tables and then took Kai up to the platform and did this suplex through the table. I guess the intent was to go through both tables, but she only went through one. Kind of a nasty landing for Mia Yim. But yeah, crazy Mamma Mia moment here on NXT. And then we had a series of interviews, I should say. Early on in the show, we had Tommaso Ciampa video package with him being interviewed for the triple threat, and then Keith Lee did one, and then Finn Balor did one. And at the beginning of the show, Adam Cole did a little promo about the triple threat. So they were really building this up. We had Pac, I think it's Pac, the bastard, whatever you want to call him. Pac did an interview, and he said he came to this company for one reason and one reason only, the classic line, saying that he was there for opportunity. But he has faced nothing but injustice since he arrived in AEW. And he said that it's a final warning to Kenny Omega and AEW. Give him his rubber match, or else he will not be responsible for what he does. Moving on here on AEW, we had Kip Sabian and Shawn Spears in a tag team match against Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Before the match, Tully Blanchard was interviewed, and he talked about how he was teaming up Shawn Spears with Kip to test the waters and see if they could become the greatest tag team in AEW. Crowd was into this match, as they were for pretty much every match on the show. They were chanting cowboy shit. Penelope Ford, who is Kip Sabian's valet, she did a Hurricane Rana to Page during the match. Fabian was about to make the save when the lights went out. And this is another little nitpicking issue with AEW, where the lights keep going out, and for various reasons, various people. It's not like it's the same person. I feel like 3 or 4 different acts now have done this lights going out gimmick. Lights went out, and when the lights came back on, we had Tully Blanchard tied up, not very well. He was tied up. Joey Janela had tied him up and brought him out to the stage area. Shawn Spears ran up there and freed Tully, and then Joey went after Spears. They brawled. Meanwhile, in the ring, Sabian was by himself. He got hit with the Snapdragon suplex followed by the V-trigger, and then Omega was going to go for the pin, but then Adam Page tagged himself in and hit the buckshot lariat to pin Kip Sabian, and there you go. Adam Page and Kenny Omega pick up the victory. As this was going on, we had Breezango versus the Singh brothers. Funny I'm bringing this up as JSpin401 says, just admit that AEW blows. He says this as I'm talking about Breezango versus the Singh brothers, which with all due respect to those guys, you know, if I have a choice between Kenny Omega and Breezango and the Singh brothers, I'm watching Kenny Omega. Just saying. Fandango picked up the victory for his team. Not much to say about it. And Mr. Dark Fantasy with a $2 super chat says, I have an off-topic question. Can you answer at the end? Yes, I can, Mr. Dark Fantasy, and thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. We had a Brandi Rhodes video package. She talked about Riho, how Riho has not been defending the title. She knocked Britt Baker, saying that people just talk about her being the girlfriend of Adam Cole, though she did not mention Adam Cole by name. And then she introduced the fan that got her head shaved from the previous week. And then she kissed this bald guy whose back was turned to the camera. I'm not sure who that was. At first I thought maybe it was Dustin, but Dustin appeared later on the show. I'm wondering if maybe that was Raven or somebody. I couldn't really tell. I was trying to figure out who that was. Who do you guys think that was that had his face turned away from the camera? Let me know in the chat room. And then we had Chris Jericho and Jake Hager come out for color commentary. Jericho kicked out Tony Schiavone and Excalibur. They were doing commentary for the Sammy G versus Luchasaurus match. And meanwhile on NXT, we had a Rhea Ripley video package showing her tryout and her performances in the Mae Young Classic. On NXT, we had Kayden Carter versus Bianca Belair, and that was going on. Bianca picked up the victory. Back over on AEW, Jericho was doing the commentary. He talked about how it was the tar that killed the dinosaurs. I could have sworn that Mr. Freeze said that it was the Ice Age that killed the dinosaurs. But according to Chris Jericho, it was tar that killed the dinosaurs. I was at the LA tar pits and I don't remember any dinosaur fossils, but Chris Jericho knows all, so I will not doubt the almighty Jericho, the Le Champion. Edgar with a $2 super chat says, I haven't watched AEW's TV show. Is it worth it? Absolutely, Edgar. I think it's an amazing show, and I think you should definitely give it a shot. I think everybody should. If you're a wrestling fan, you should definitely give AEW a chance. It's really been a fun show, and it's a nice change of pace from WWE. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, why does the Corpus Christi crowd seem to be quiet? I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. It's just every time WWE goes there, it's usually one of the quietest crowds, and I really don't know why. I mean, it's not a big market. It's not like Houston or Chicago or Toronto. I really don't know. I don't know why people don't react on those shows. I mean, they even got a pay-per-view. I mean, they've gotten more in recent years than a city like Portland, Oregon has gotten. They got that Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that WWE did a few years back. Actually, I think it was like 4 years back. So a little more than a few. And the game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, the Singh brothers are not in the league of playing as Hollywood Blondes. They suck and will never be as good as the Hollywood Blondes. Singh brothers suck. Well, I mean, the problem with them is that they were in that 24/7 title feud with R-Truth. So why would I have any interest in watching them wrestle when they've been labeled as like the bottom of the barrel as far as the pecking order goes? And, other than that, they were the punching bags when Jinder Mahal was in trouble. Kayfabe Candy says, how dare you kill the dinosaurs, Ice Age? And then JSpin401 says, the Corpus Christi crowd is soft. Let's see, Mr. Dark Fantasy wanted an off-topic question answered, and I'm not sure if he has given it to me yet. So you guys are going to have to remind me if there's a question from Mr. Dark Fantasy, I got to answer that question for him. So let me know. Remind me if I forget about it. All right, so back to the Luchasaurus match. Sammy Guevara got in some offense, but in the end, Luchasaurus picked up the victory. And then after the match, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager ran down to attack him. Jungle Boy made the save. And then we had Marco Stunt come in. Jungle Boy did the pin on Chris Jericho, unofficial pin, with Marco Stunt counting the 1, 2, 3. Jericho was irate. He was screaming, saying it didn't count. He was throwing a big fit. Love this build-up for next week. I like it. I like it a lot. And you did it in a way where Jericho did not officially take another fall in AEW. So good stuff here. Good stuff to build up next week's show. And holy cow, Ian Joplin with a $100 super chat, which might be the biggest super chat of the year. Thank you so much, Ian Joplin. Very much appreciated. He says, hey, Aaron, sending you some holiday love. Off-topic question, which I will absolutely answer right now. He says, also can answer at the end of the video. Would you ever team up with Vince Russo for a no DQ review? I would love to have Vince Russo on a no DQ video. Big Vito was on. Why not Vince Russo? I know Virtue would love it. Let's do it. If Vince Russo wants to be on, I'd love to make it happen. And we could do a Q&A. We could get questions from you guys. I would 100% be open to that. Let's get Vince Russo on. I'd love to get his thoughts on AEW and NXT and what he would do with the brands. Open invitation to Vince Russo if he wants to be on. I would love to see it happen. You guys got to tweet him, though. Tell him you want to see him on a no DQ panel with myself and Virtue and maybe Robbie Vice, maybe TJS. We can get a bunch of people on, or maybe just a small group. Let him know that you want to see him on a no DQ video. And thank you again, Ian. I really do appreciate it. Shanti with the $2 super chat says, off topic, sorry, but will you be at WrestleMania in Tampa? No. I mean, it would be fun to go to Tampa for a WrestleMania, but it's just too much for me. I'm still burned out from the SummerSlam weekend stuff. And again, I'm not big on traveling far for a wrestling show. The only way I would do it at this point would be like for Los Angeles, because my mom's in LA and I could visit her and go to WrestleMania at the same time. So LA is pretty much the only big city I'm going to travel to for a WWE or pay-per-view from any promotion at this point, period. And you know what, Ian, you are now the honorary. Because of that, I am making you the new No DQ Super Chat champion. I am reinstating it one time just for you, Ian. One time, guys, so don't be trying to compete for it. Ian Joplin is an honorary No DQ Super Chat champion. He is. He's the man. There you go. Ian, that's for you. Now, let's get back to the recap. We had the main events to talk about. Santana and Ortiz, Pride and Powerful, up against the Young Bucks, Texas Street Fight. I'm not sure what's the difference between a Texas Street Fight and a Chicago Street Fight, or a Toronto Street Fight, or a Tampa Street Fight. But it was a street fight, so you don't really need any rules because there are none. It's just anything goes. All weapons are legal. Or as Batista might say, future Hall of Famer, weapons are not only encouraged, they're allowed. So Young Bucks came out. They had their pyro, and they were immediately attacked as the pyro was going off by Santana and Ortiz. Sammy Guevara was out there as well. Brandon Cutler tried to even the odds, but he got attacked as well. Cutler ended up being powerbombed through the staging area. One of the Young Bucks, I forgot which one, got thrown off the ramp, but then they came back. They hit super kicks. They did a spike pile driver on the ramp, and then Nick Jackson climbed up to the top of the entrance circle and did a swanton off the top onto one of the Pride and Powerful members. SCU, the tag team champions, they were watching at ringside because next week, SCU, it was announced that they would be fighting the winners of this match. Lots of crazy stuff in this match. We had trash cans. We had Matt Jackson wearing the Cowboys helmet to prevent any damage to his head. And he took out Santana and Ortiz with a double spear. Tony Schiavone wasn't sure which Young Buck he was under the helmet. That was pretty funny. I had trouble too, but I mean, the way to know is Matt has the darker hair and the sideburns, so that's how you know if you have any trouble telling the difference between the two of them. To this day, I still don't know which Uso is which when they wrestle. I never know which one's Jimmy and which is Jay. So, but with the Young Bucks, it's a little bit easier to tell the two of them apart when all the action is going on. There were a bunch of tables set up. Pretty much 3 table spots in the span of a minute. Ortiz did a cannonball to Nick through one of the tables, and just complete carnage. It was like a wreck on the interstate, as JR might say. And then Nick hit a 450 splash with the assistance of a trash can, and that's when Jake Hager came out, pulled out the referee. Nick tried to go after Jake, but accidentally kicked the referee, taking the referee out of commission. Dustin Rhodes, as I mentioned earlier, came out and made the save, went after Jake Hager. I'm not sure who Jake is feuding with, if he's feuding with Dustin or if he's feuding with Luchasaurus. And when is Jake Hager going to have a match? That's another thing I'm wondering about. Audrey Edwards came out. The female referee came out. Crowd was chanting her name. She was in the mix here, and she got pulled out at one point. Ortiz and Santana were about to win the match via the Street Sweeper, but Nick managed to pull Audrey out of the ring, and then Young Bucks came back, hit the super kicks. They did a chair-assisted Meltzer driver onto the chair to pick up the victory, which means next week it will be SCU defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the Young Bucks. SCU got in the ring. They had a stare-off to close the show. Great episode of AEW. I'm going to give it an A-. A few weak points on the show. Probably the weakest point was the Tully Blanchard thing with him being tied up and the lights going off. But overall, one of the better AEW shows since they started. I definitely recommend checking out the main event and checking out the promos. Chris Jericho's promo with Moxley and then MJF's promo. Great stuff with those guys. Now, we had the main event of NXT, the triple threat match, which itself was another crazy match to end NXT this week. Lots of big spots here. Keith Lee showing off his power. They had this electric chair spot, and he had both guys up and dropped them both. Finn Balor coming in, getting near falls, countering Keith Lee's sit-down powerbomb attempt. Ciampa hit the air raid to Keith Lee, but Lee kicked out. And then Lee hit a moonsault. Ciampa kicked out of that. And then the finish of the match was Lee going for the sit-down powerbomb. He actually hit it on Ciampa, but then Finn Balor, out of nowhere, immediately with the coup de grace, pinned Keith Lee to become the new number one contender. And Adam Cole was out there watching the match, and afterwards we had a stare down between Undisputed Era and Finn Balor. Next week's going to be a loaded show from both AEW and NXT. Let's see what the letter grades are from you guys. Jeremy says A+ for both shows. Lewis with an A. Kev Dog with an A-. Oofman Rules says A for AEW. Dr. NXT Scorpio with an A- for AEW. And Curtis Butler gives AEW a B+. Gamers on 100 gives NXT an A-. Tic Tat Tat says NXT B, AEW A+. Wow. Mike B says an A for both. Prince Lee says AEW gets an A. And the guy 261 says NXT gets an A. AEW did not watch. Well, both shows were great. And, NXT looked like an A show from what I could tell. Yeah, next week's going to be insane. The final AEW NXT battle of the year, because both shows will be off for the Christmas holiday. AEW has Adam Cole versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. And then for the Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley will challenge Shayna Baszler. And over on AEW, we got the tag team titles. Young Bucks challenging SCU for the tag team titles. And also Chris Jericho versus Jungle Boy in the 10-minute match to see if Jungle Boy can hang with Le Champion, who is the NoDQ.com superstar of the decade, by the way. Now, Mr. Dark Fantasy, you had that off-topic question. I'm not sure if you sent it in the chat room, but if you're still watching, all right, here we go. Here's the question. So from Mr. Dark Fantasy, random off-topic question here. He says, you remember the Armageddon 06 four-way ladder match? I was rewatching old match cards and they advertised a rematch between the four teams at No Way Out 2007. It did not happen. Do you know why? Is that the match where, man, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name now. Where he got busted up. Somebody help me. Joey Mercury. Thank you for that. Yeah, Joey Mercury. I believe that was the match where he got pretty busted up, and I don't know how long he was out of action. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but yeah, I don't remember what the scenario was. So unfortunately, I'm not able to give you an answer to that question. I mean, I barely remember the match. The thing that I remember was him getting busted up pretty badly. Like, that visual stuck for a while. I mean, that was just nasty. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, again, please tell a friend, spread the word, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Keep voting in the NoDQ.com Decade Awards. Check out the videos with myself and Jeff Meacham where we discuss every category. And check out the predictions video for WWE TLC. And I will see you guys next time.